transitions to our next session on 21st century literature. Today I'll be discussing literary devices, techniques, and elements. Okay, so this session we will be distinguishing the differences between among literary devices, literary techniques, and literary elements. Now basically, literary devices refer to the literary elements and literary techniques. Okay, because literary devices refer to the typical structures used by writers in their works to convey his or her message in a simple manner to his or her readers. So, literary elements and literary techniques can still be acceptably called literary devices. Common literary elements are present in literature. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. We have plot, setting, protagonist, antagonist, narrator, narrative method, dialogue, conflict, and theme. These are the common literary elements that are present in any literary text. Okay? They are inherent existence in literary piece, and they are extensively employed by writers in order to develop a literary piece. Okay, plot is the logical sequence of events in a story or a novel. Novels usually have subplots. Short story has one plot. Setting refers to the time and place. You know this already. Protagonist, antagonist are part of characterization. When we say protagonist, the main character of the story. Antagonist is the one that hinders the protagonist in achieving his or her goal. Narrator is the one who tells the story. Narrative method, or maybe point of view, if you're familiar, is the manner in which a narrative is presented, comprising plot and setting. Dialogue is the exchange of narration or conversation between and among characters. Conflict is the struggle or the obstacle or the issue which the whole story revolves. Mood is the general atmosphere of a narrative created in the readers. Okay? Theme is a central idea or concept of a story. The tone is the attitude of the readers upon when he or she wrote the story. Okay? Mood is on the part of the readers. It is the emotion created in the readers. How about the common literary techniques? When we say literary techniques, these are words or phrases that writers employ to achieve the artistic effect of a literary piece in order to gain a better understanding and appreciation of their pieces. Now, literary techniques may refer to figures of speech and sensory images and sound devices. They are called literary techniques, but here are the most common. Imagery, I'm sure you're familiar with imagery. It allows the readers to visually imagine, or it allows the writers to visually represent the actions, ideas, and concepts in a poem or in a short story or in any literary piece. Imagery usually refers to our physical senses. Visual imagery, auditory imagery, olfactory imagery is for smell, gustatory imagery is for taste, kinesthetic imagery is for movement, bodily movement, right? Simile and metaphor, very easy. I'm sure you already know this. Two of the most common figures of speech, right? Used to compare two different objects. Simile, we use like or as. Metaphor, we do not use like or as anymore. It's a direct comparison. Hyperbole is another figure of speech wherein we exaggerate the action or idea of a particular character or of a particular object in the poem or persona in the poem in order to emphasize maybe. Personification is also a common figure of speech. We attribute human characteristics to inanimate or non-living objects. Alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds in a stanza or in a line of a poem. Allegory is a figure of speech wherein an abstract idea is given a form of characters, actions, or events. Irony is the use of words in such a way in which the intended meaning is completely opposite to their literal meaning. When you say irony, what you said is not actually what you meant. That's what we call irony. Now, unlike literary elements, literary techniques are not necessarily present in every text. Okay? Unlike plot, setting, character, it has to be there. That is what we call literary elements. It is required to be there in order for your story to be complete and solid, right? Literary techniques, yes, you may use them, but not all the time. So they are not really necessarily present in every literary text. We have from Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. But soft what light through yonder window breaks. It is the east and Juliet is the sun. What do you think is the literary device used here? I think allusion or metaphor. So this famous line contains a metaphor. Romeo is catching his first glimpse of Juliet as he stands below her balcony, and he referred to Juliet as the sun. Her beauty is like the sun. From Beowulf, he was a fourfold father, despite his friends. What literary device was used? Maybe alliteration, because fourfold father, despite his friends. They have similar consonant sound. Let's see. Alliteration. Okay, there is a repetition of F sound, which gives the line a soft, flowing quality. Okay, alliteration is a sound device. It makes you make rhythm in any line of your piece. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I love this novel, and I love the opening line. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. If you read the entire first paragraph, that is just part of the first paragraph of the novel. If you read the first entire paragraph of that novel, it's really good and tasteful. So it contains anaphora. When you say anaphora, some phrases in a line are repeated. For example, it was the best, it was the worst, it was the. The repetition of the phrase it was the all throughout the entire paragraph is what we call anaphora. Pass away instead of died. You use the word pass away instead of died. Or economical with the suit instead of liar. Those are what we call euphemism. It's an indirect, big term so that your statements will not be that harsh or offensive to the readers or to your audience. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Paradox. A situation is created which cannot possibly exist because different elements of it cancel each other out. It was the best of times, it was a paradox, because how can something be the best of times and be the worst of times? So it contradicts itself, so that is what we call paradox. Oh, here old Triton below his wheated corn. Triton, Triton from mythology. So assonance, because there is a repetition of vowel sounds, not just letters, in words that are close together. Oh, here old Triton below his wheated corn. So there is a repetition of O sound. Okay, so that is assonance, vowel sound. While the blanket is short, learn how to bend. This contains a proverb. When we say proverbs, it's like short sentences that reflect wisdom or truth. So when we say while the blanket is short, learn how to bend, that means you have to learn how to adapt to your environment and be contented with what you have. Okay, so that is what they call proverbs. Two sunflowers move in a yellow room by William Blake. Look at the stanza. Two sunflowers move in a yellow room. Ah, William, we're wary of weather. Said the sunflowers shining with you. Our traveling habits have tired us. Can you give us a room with a view? This poem by William Blake contains a lot of examples of personification. Yes, correct. Two sunflowers move in a yellow room. How can two sunflowers move? So that this personification, we attribute human characteristics to inanimate, like sunflower. And then the flower said something. William, we're aware of the weather, so that's also personification. Now to sum it up, a literary device is any specific aspect of literature which we can recognize, identify, interpret, or analyze. Because these devices are not just there to beautify your poem or short story or novel. Because as much as possible, literary devices should also represent something, should also signify something. It should also send a message to your reader. So it's not just there, you don't just put literary devices in your poems or stories just to make it more attractive, just to make it more beautiful to your teacher. No. We add literary devices so that we can also send a message using these devices for the readers to interpret them. Okay? Literary devices are the author's whole toolkit. So it's really you really have to have this kit of a set of literary devices, techniques, and elements. Okay, whatever you want to do with your story or poems, you have to do it with literary devices so that you could establish a meaning both in a literal level, both in literal and figurative level, and also on a more emotional level to the readers to make it more relatable and believable, to make it more creative, and to make it more to give more opportunities for your readers to stretch their imagination as they interpret your literary work.